Hi! There are a lot more of you now.
We're talking about Amy. Amy Rose has been in the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise for a long, long time. Longer than Knuckles, actually. First debuting in 1992, she's been a staple of the franchise as a valiant fighter, a brave leader, a loving friend, and as the main girl character. We've got other girls, obviously, but Amy tends to be the most popular and the most widely used. Honestly, just looking at her, you can kinda tell she's the girl one. I mean, she's bright pink, and her quills made specifically to look like hair. She has a fluffy dress and jewelry in contrast to the boys' nudist society.
Yeah, because God forbid anyone ever look at a character and be unable to tell their gender.
90s.
They made Sally in the 90s.
We are not getting the Sally versus Amy discourse in our comments.
Yeah, we can solve that easy.
They both look nice!
But when looking at Amy's design, could there be a reason other than her gender that she looks like that? I mean, she used to look a lot different. They only changed her appearance for Sonic Adventure. Why exactly did they do that? To make her look older? Or could there be something else in Amy's history that actually explains this change, other than womanish motives? Hi, I'm Connie.
And I'm Cori.
And why does Amy look like that?
Oh, and one quick thing we want to talk about before we start. This is a theory we've been working on for a while. You might have seen this floating around our Tumblrs. Now, do we think this was intentional on the part of the writers?
Maybe. Maybe not. Or it wasn't and it became intentional. Or it was and it became unintentional. Or it became unintentional and then became unintentional. Or it became unintentional.
Oh god, we
and then
broke her.
became
Cut to the chapter title.
unintentional, and then it became... In the beginning of the then-new Sonic the Hedgehog series, Sega's licensing business asked the creative team to make a mini to Sonic's Mickey, a girlfriend to be marketable to the ever-elusive female demographic. Sonic Team, however, felt that it would go against Sonic's personality for him to be in a committed relationship.
And thus it was decided that it would be more fitting and interesting for it to be an unrequited relationship, with a young Amy Rose fangirling over the cool older hero Sonic.
Amy ended up, she's all into Sonic, that's what her mind is, but Sonic, he's always going from one adventure, from one big disaster to the next, and trying to do that, and constantly moving forward. So, as a result, that's why we have this sort of one-way relationship going on between them. So, hold on, what's the one-way? Isn't that more interesting?
While she was created for the games, she first debuted in the 1992 Shogakukan manga series, where she actually was in a requited relationship with a younger Sonic. Despite this, the original intention for her was seen through when she made her game debut in 1993, with Sonic the Hedgehog CD. The British Sonic the Comic soon introduced her as well, where she quickly became one of the more popular characters, eventually having her own spin-off segments with the character of Techno the Canary, which, fun fact, in 2018, original comic writer Nigel Kitchen assisted in a fan continuation of the comic, writing a new ending for it in which Amy and Techno are married with a son.
Amy remained a central presence in the video game series for the next few years, and after almost 2 years she made her debut in the American Archie comics, but did not appear in any of the connected television series or books, making her less recognizable than, say, Tails or Eggman. When Amy had been around for 5 years, Sonic Team decided to take their foray into story-based gaming with a 3-dimensional platform. So for their first narrative-driven game, 1998's Sonic Adventure, they set up a cast of characters they were sure could carry an audience's attention and affection for however long gameplay would last. ADHD, autism, what's a pronoun, insert froggy hate here, one more robot learns to and Amy! Wait. What does she look like?
For Sonic Adventure, Amy was given a total and complete redesign. Every character was redesigned for the game, of course, to fit the new medium. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles were all made a bit taller and lankier, and them and Eggman all got new little details that you couldn't convey in base pixel sprites. Amy, though, had a drastic shift from this to this. Series creator Naoto Oshima and Kazuyuki Hoshino's initial character design of Little Pink Hedgehog in a poofy dress and light sneakers kept only her headband and bangs in Yuji Uwaka's new design. She was now taller, with green eyes, low quills, and a red dress and boots. Her age was also boosted from 8 to 12, which could suggest this design is simply a time-skip style change, especially considering how they've mentioned in modern day that the classic games took place years in the past, meaning the classic cast is just this cast but younger, placing, for example, Sonic CD about 4 to 5 years before Generations. But that does still raise a question. She looks older now, okay, why doesn't she really look like a hedgehog?
Comparing Amy to the other official Hedgehog Mobians from both before and after Sonic Adventure puts her at a dramatic difference of appearance. The other hedgehogs we look at here have large, sharp quills with a large volume. Amy's quills are not spiky and point down like a human bob cut. Every other hedgehog has also had their quills in a specific manner: out, long, and back, very much in contrast to Amy's down and short. Shadow, Sonic, and Silver also have their quills layered in specific directions, while Amy's are just right next to each other.
I note the layered quills is very important. Why? Because, well, there's another species that has their head quills just like this, right next to each other and pointed down. Interesting how close it is to Amy's own hairstyle, isn't it? Let's expand on this, shall we?
Knuckles, Tikal, and seemingly the entire Knuckles clan have 3 spines on the sides of their heads and 1 shorter and thicker in the back. Amy also has this back quill, and though she also has less than the echidnas and hedgehogs, the quill style still matches. There's also one specific thing the other hedgehogs have that Amy Rose is lacking.
If you're a Sonic fan artist, you've definitely noticed this.
She has no quills on her back. Absolutely 0. Strange for a hedgehog. Sonic has one, Shadow's got one, Silver's got one, even stranger considering she did have one in her initial design. So in her redesign, this was something they deliberately left out. She has a backless dress now so we can see her lack of a quill, when they could have easily just thrown a jacket over it if they didn't want to animate it. Oh, okay, I say that, but they also animated Tikal's over-designed ass the entire game. And I say this with love.
Another thing is that while we've seen other pink hedgehogs in the comics and in Sonic Underground, which, let's be real, we should only use as a lesson in how not to design anything, the only hedgehogs we see in games stay on the cooler side of the color spectrum, with Amy standing out as a warm pink. Now, as IDW is considered canon, this might not be the case for all hedgehogs, but it still is striking that she's the only warm-colored main hedgehog. And even then, the warm hedgehogs in the comics don't look like Amy, rather like Sonic and Silver with their quills out and back.
We don't have a lot of examples of non-comic hedgehogs, with Shadow also getting his coloring from the black arms, but we've got a wide pool of echidna examples. The echidnas are always warm colors, either red or orange, with the exception of the occasional white, which could easily be attributed to albinism. In Sonic Adventure specifically, we see Pachacamic and Knuckles as red, Tikal as orange, and the others as a deep shade of pink. In fact, every echidna but those main 3 are pink.
Now, are we implying that Amy Rose is actually an echidna? No. Here's the thing. Despite lacking certain hedgehog qualities and having specific echidna qualities, Amy still has other hedgehog features, specifically the ears and iconic mono-eye design. Her tail is also closer to a hedgehog length, though it's a bit longer.
And quite a bit shorter than the echidna tails.
Almost like it's a mix of both. Hey, wait. Hybrids in the Sonic universes, while rare, have been seen to exist. Fang the Sniper, while recently introduced to modern audiences, was initially presented as a hybrid. While he was designed just as a Jerboa, and is confirmed as such in the Tales Tube episode,
wasn't he some kind of wolfy thing?
Nope, a Jerboa.
Huh. Could have sworn.
The sales departments of SEGA back when he was created decided that he should also be half wolf. Sally Acorn has also been presented as a chipmunk, but with her biological father being a ground squirrel, that implies that she's only maternally a chipmunk. In the Archie canon, I believe her mother is the one who's a hybrid, but there's squirrel blood in there somewhere. Sarah in the Sonic OVA, while never confirmed, has a freaking cat tail and an unseen mother, so she could potentially be the first half-human, half-Mobian hybrid in the franchise. And of course, in Archie's alt canon 30 years later, everyone has babies ever after clone children.
God, look at this. Would it be so hard to make their hair messier or something? Make them look a little more creative than the puppies from Lady and the Tramp? They at least had the excuse it was one scene from a hand-drawn film and they didn't need to care, but these were major characters and all you had to do was make the chipmunk blue. I just think that—
A nicely designed hybrid in Archie was Princess Undina, who had an angelfish mother and a pufferfish father. She is shown to have a mashup of their traits with her mother's ears, father's coloring and quill shape, etc. Sally is a chipmunk, like presumably her mother, but looks extremely similar to her father, the squirrel. Sarah is basically just a human with a tail unless she's got cat ears under that bow, which, honestly possible.
All that to say, accepting the 30 years later designs, hybrids are possible in this universe and tend to be mashups of their previous species. While some lean towards one or the other, they've got traits of both. If Amy is a hybrid of a hedgehog and an echidna, this would explain just about everything about her appearance. There is actually a hedgehog echidna hybrid in the Archie comics, that being Amy's cousin's son, John. Yeah, her cousin's Robin Hood, don't question it. But this design is basically just copy-paste Knuckles, so we're just gonna breeze on by that.
To be fair, so is Kneecaps.
Kneecaps is my favorite character.
You know what, to be fair, so is the entire Knuckles family tree.
Oh, we have opinions. We're just gonna move on.
Ken Penders was so ahead of his time with NFTs. She lacks the hedgehog back quill, but has their ears an eye shape. Her quills drop down like an echidna's, and her bangs are closer to a hedgehog. And look at her nose. The classic Amy has the same outward nose as Sonic, but it's been changed to this little button nose in her adventure design. It doesn't match Knuckles, but it does match Tikal, whose Sonic adventure design was also done by Yuji Uekawa. And not just Tikal, but Shade, who was designed to be a major female echidna until... stuff happened. This kind of nose shape change isn't just something that happens with time, like the rest of her design could be excused with, and I severely doubt that Mobius hospitals perform rhinoplasty on 12-year-olds when they have Eggman attacks to worry about. It seems to be an intentional and direct change, especially since she had the hedgehog nose in previous games, and clearly a nose that sticks out wasn't a problem when animating it with Sonic's model.
We don't even have to stop at the genetic similarities. While obviously fashion sense isn't affected by genetics, designing a costume is an integral part of character design, especially when they will be in this outfit for the vast majority of their appearances. And looking at this dress, oh my god, that's the same color as Knuckles. And not just that, her white collar is in the same place as Knuckles' white crescent marking. Her dress is a Knuckles Disney bound, and no one ever talks about this.
Is it a Disney bound if they're not Disney? SEGA bound?
Sonic was in Wreck-It Ralph. I think we can count the Sonic franchise as Disney canon.
And Wreck-It Ralph was in Kingdom Hearts. Sonic is Kingdom Hearts canon.
Okay, now we're on this topic. Are we sure her hammer's not a Keyblade of some kind? Because
Amy's outfit is highly reminiscent of Knuckles. In her Popstar design from Sonic Speed Battle, she's even given little rhinestones on her glove, literally where Knuckles' spikes are. While Amy is stated to be a hedgehog, she doesn't look like one. What she does look like is a mixture of a hedgehog and an echidna.
However, it's not like this could have been intentional, right? They were probably just making her look more like the girl character, and there is a high chance that this was just it. But the thing we were wondering is, why did she get this redesign for Sonic Adventure? This wasn't the first 3D Sonic game. For instance, in Sonic R, she has her classic design. It's only after Adventure that she poke evolves into her tween form. So it's not like animating her OG design was the problem. They chose to change her for their first really story-based game. The story that was based around the history of the echidnas.
Sonic Adventure follows the aftermath of the ancient Knuckles tribe's actions. It follows their connection to the Sonic Pantheon, the Master and Chaos Emeralds, and Knuckles' role as Guardian. And in this game, not only is Amy redesigned with downward quills, no back spike, and bright red clothing, they specifically chose to change her nose. In the Echidna lore game, Amy is suddenly changed to look more like an echidna, not to mention the extra background echidnas they made pink.
And while Amy introduces herself solely as a hedgehog, we also need to keep in mind that we know nothing of her backstory. Her biological parents may have died or left before she was old enough to know one of them was an echidna. She saw she had hedgehog ears and eyes and just ran with that. She definitely looked more hedgehog as a kid. Sometimes other genetic traits pop out more when you get older. Like Cori.
Hi, I was blonde as a baby, and then I got brunette, and then I was a teenager and suddenly my hair got red. That was the Polish genes kicking in.
The only hint we have towards her past supports this. In the original Japanese version of Sonic X's 45th episode, Sonic Battle Opening, Amy says that her life is full of people running away from her, which could potentially imply that she was abandoned or orphaned before becoming part of Team Sonic.
逃げられた。やぶかにまで。私の人生逃げられてばっかりね。
Which would also explain her whole attachment issues thing. We haven't got anything else on her past ever since the...
Well, there sure is a lot of stuff for something they never brought up. Yeah, for over 25 years after this game, they haven't done anything to imply it might be the case. So, no girls, this probably wasn't intentional and you're reading too much into it. Unless they, planned it and forgot about it. Man, can you imagine if they found their old files and were like, ha, that was wild, we should do that.
So yeah, the reason we bring this theory up is because we think they might actually be doing that.
Something just happened.
So again, post-adventure, there's not a whole lot of stuff connecting Amy to the echidnas. In the meantime, though, we did get a bit of shared traits between Amy and the other two major echidnas, Knuckles and Tikal. For starters, Amy obviously has a similar strength to Knuckles, possibly even rivaling his, considering she literally yeets him into a tree in generations. Her strength was compared directly to Knuckles in the 2023 Twitter takeover.
But I have been training with Knuckles. One swing of my hammer and crack! The earth would split into pieces. You're telling us one swing and you can just shatter the earth into little pieces?
She could do it.
And it's not just that. As was originally brought up in Sonic CD and has become more prominent in recent years, Amy has some kind of latent psychic ability, which she specifically uses to track down Sonic. Compare this to Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, where Knuckles can track down pieces of the Master Emerald. Shown specifically here in Sonic Rush, Knuckles has a very keen sense for the other emeralds as energy as well, but not enough to tell the difference between the Chaos and Soul Emeralds. What makes this difference from, say, Gold's mind reading and whatever the writers decide Silver can do? These two are the specific psychic ability of dowsing, being the ability or practice of using a tool or sixth sense to find things, usually metals or water. Water dowsing is an actual practice sometimes still used by English farmers. Knuckles' abilities, either being just how he is or due to his consistent closeness with the Master Emerald, is being able to track the Master Emerald shards as well as Chaos Emeralds with pretty good accuracy. Amy's ability to track down Sonic is also nothing to laugh at. She actually tracks him down in 06 Heroes and Unleashed. This ability may not also be limited to just Sonic, as in a comic she's also able to sense Espio's invisible presence, but if anything, she's focused on Sonic.
But in modern Sonic canon, what really got us started on this theory was the aforementioned Twitter takeovers. Specifically, the 2021 takeover for Sonic Frontiers, in which she and Knuckles are given the most sibling-coded argument I've ever seen two unrelated characters have.
For everyone, what is your favorite Chaos Emerald color?
And mine's red.
Clearly, we can't both like the same color emerald.
Arm wrestle for it?
No.
Okay. I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 963. Closest guess, without going over, wins.
317.
That was the exact number I was thinking of.
How in the world would you choose 317? There's no reason for you to have said that. I mean, take it back. Let me win. The red emerald is my favorite, not yours. Go like cyan or something. Just lay off, Knuckles.
You couldn't just let me have this. You just had to guess the same number as me, and for what? So you could have the best color emerald as your favorite? Newsflash, the emerald is red. Just like me. You're pink, not red. It doesn't make sense. Just let me have it.
Knuckles, absolutely not. I get red. I'm the girl.
Look,
I don't care.
I'm
You
the
have
one
to
that
find
guards the
something
Chaos
else.
Emeralds. Hello. So I should have my
Okay,
pick of
right.
emerald, especially
No.
the one that's the color of me.
Okay, while we solve this dilemma, thank you at Pubmim Abastado for the question. Guys?
Speaking as someone who is a sister to this bitch,
Hi!
arguing over completely bizarre and useless things is pretty much the most sibling thing you could do. Sans killing each other with a rock.
Sans the skeleton killing you with a rock.
This is why I just called you a bitch.
This is why I bit you as a child.
This is why
But whether her and Knuckles are related or just part of a similar species, that doesn't really matter. Though they should make them siblings 30 years after their debut just because it would be funny.
I can't believe we squabbled like that.
Yeah, you were out of control.
I was out of control.
After Sonic Adventure, we didn't get Echidna lore from 2003 until Frontiers in 2002. They get brief mentions in Sonic Battle, and then Dark Brotherhood introduced some more Echidna lore, but that game was made by a separate studio and doesn't get to be canon anymore because of... you know, that one thing. So, in the meantime, Amy got some good character development from the girl one with a crush to being a badass hero in her own right. So when Echidna stuff did start coming in, it was interesting how much she ended up connected to it.
One IDW comic issue had a story nearly solely focused on Amy and Knuckles simply returning an Echidna artifact to its original place on Angel Island. In issue number 62, Amy arrives on Angel Island, spends a while talking about how she finds the place absolutely beautiful and should visit more often, and then falls through a trap in the ground, leading to her run-in with Knuckles. Grateful for the return, Knuckles invites Amy to come with him to bring it back, and then they proceed to have a back-and-forth bickering the entire time, which isn't unusual for the Sonic franchise, but should be noted considering the...
I should have my pick of emerald, especially the one that's the color of me.
I also find it an interesting detail of Knuckles talking about the architectural style of the artifact and which ruins it matches, with Amy Amy proceeding to study the artifact and then tell Knuckles, "You're the boss." Plus, page 16 when she says, "Destroying an ancient mechanism, aka the trap that wants to kill them, would kinda undercut the spirit of restoring the relic to its proper place." I have to wonder if this was a callback to her archaeology interest in Sonic Boom, and if that character trait might come into play on Angel Island at any point. Anyway, they return the relic and have some fun teamwork moments before ending with Amy definitely feeling bad that Knuckles grew up like this, and telling him that if he ever needs a break, to head over to Restoration HQ, which is a really funny thing to say considering Sonic Frontiers.
Frontiers appears to be kickstarting several future character arcs. In terms of Amy, she shows the desire to go on her own adventures, and Knuckles expresses the desire to take a break from guarding the Master Emerald, just like Amy suggested here, which means that someone else would have to take over guardianship, considering how many times someone's tried to steal the damn thing. In this issue, Knuckles says that he trusts Amy and about 5 others max, and with the issue also having the point to say that Amy wants to visit more often and showing her proficiency with getting around the place when she's used to the playing field, is it possible that she is being set up to be the next Guardian? And would this setup have to do with her having Echidna heritage and wanting to explore that side of her history? The final thing that pushed us towards thinking, oh, they might actually do this, was the third part of Sonic Prime. While we don't have a ton of Knuckles and Amy interactions due to them being, split into shattered fragments, they make a distinct point to have their pirate variants, Dread and Rose, have a scene right towards the end of the show. In the previous episodes, they had a few scenes together, and Rose had later expressed disdain for his poor captaining, but Dread had most of his scenes with Sonic and Rose with Rusty. This changed in the second to last episode, The Devil Was in the Tails, which had this scene.
You came for me.
I finally realized there are things more important than a shiny rock. But you already knew that, didn't ye?
I suppose I did.
For now and forever, you'll always have me loyalty, Captain Rose.
Did you just call me Captain?
Aye.
So, can we talk about how this episode, which takes place in the continuity of the games, has Knuckles say he's discovered things more important than a shiny rock, and then put Amy in charge of the ship called the Angel's Voyage? Knuckles decides to do different things with his life, and then puts Amy in charge of the Angel. Are we thinking the same things right now? Is Amy going to be the next Guardian? And does that have to do with maybe, just maybe, an Echidna ancestry that she would like to explore? Or maybe we're just nuts and she looks like this because they wanted to make her look like a girl.
I don't know, the rhinestone gloves are kind of tripping me out.
I still like the sibling argument over emerald colors. They're dumb anyway, everyone knows the best emerald's the dark blue one.
The Mashishi?
Yeah.
That's my favorite. Change your answer.